So why are these units, and as we'll get into a little bit later, unit conversions? The unit conversions are how we go between um, different units. We're really going to stress this and you know, make this important. Why is it so important? Well, there's a couple pretty famous stories that illustrate why it's so important to know these things. The first one looks at the Mars Climate Orbiter. And this was designed to study the possibility of water on Mars. And it was launched in late 1998, and it's in September of 1999, after it had journeyed for 10 months, they lost contact with it. And they believe that the orbiter came too close to the atmosphere and very likely burned and broke up into pieces. So what happened? Well, believe it or not, it was all about the units. Unfortunately, the two research teams, and this has always been puzzling to me, one of the research teams was using metric units. And that's what scientists do. We use metric units. It's kind of strange, but apparently one of the other research teams was using, the old English units, like feet, pounds, so on. And when they tried to convert between units, well, they didn't do it correctly, and a $125 million spacecraft was lost. Another story, this one's even older, this goes back to 1983, but that plane you can see pictured there became known as the Gimli glider. And your first thought is that probably doesn't look like a glider. And you'd be right. It was a Boeing 767 jet. And it was flying from Montreal to Ottawa to Edmonton. So if you're not familiar with your Canadian geography, we've got Montreal here. Ottawa here. And then it had its final destination out here in Edmonton. Now, it got the name the Gimli glider because this town here in Gimli in Manitoba was as far as it got. Why is that? Well, when they were trying to refuel the plane, someone calculated it incorrectly. They didn't convert their units properly. And so as they were still quite a ways from their destination, they ran out of fuel. And so the pilot ended up having to fly this plane as if it was a giant glider. Now, they said fortunately this pilot actually had experience flying gliders, and pretty amazingly he was able to bring it in safely with only minor injuries. But again, um, because they messed up the unit conversions, they ran out of fuel well short of their destination. So just to, we could talk about many other examples of where metric units or the conversion between units can be an issue. But these are just a couple stories where, in one case, a rather expensive vehicle was lost, and the other one could have been quite tragic if the pilot hadn't saved the flight. So as we start talking about how to convert metric units, this can be very, very important.